This week on Command N, Apple apologizes, quick launches, and Batman in real life.
Hi, and welcome to episode 141 of Command N. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Amber, and we're here at the Best of PEI Market, which our parents own.
Yep.
And they were nice enough to let us come in and shoot indoors because for the first time, I think, in about 30 days, it's raining.
Been raining, yeah.
I know.
So we can't get those nice outside shots we like so much, but this is pretty good surroundings.
This is pretty good, you know, and the good news is that we'll stay a little dry and our cameraman Chris stays dry as well, and that's the most important thing.
It is. So let's talk about this week's headlines.
Our first headline this week is about Facebook. Facebook is going after a German company who has a Facebook-like application that has millions and millions of users that are in Germany, Austria, as well as Switzerland. And it turns out that Facebook thinks this is a little bit too much like Facebook. And so they really are trying to take out a lawsuit against the company.
Yeah, there's been quite a tangled web of these social networking things talking about copying one another. And I think it's got to be pretty hard to tell at this point. But haven't really taken a close look at that network. Maybe that is the case, but Facebook itself has been challenged about where its origins came from, so
I know.
Maybe that's the pot calling the kettle black, I'm not sure.
I know, and the interesting thing is that this company who runs this site say that Facebook is just upset because they haven't been able to get too many users in Germany, and so they feel as though they need to go after this company. So who knows what will happen.
Good news for Nintendo though. Nintendo is now the top-selling video game console in the United States. In June, they had 666,000 units sold, bringing the American total, I think, to 10.9 million. So they're really battling it out with Xbox 360. I'm not sure where PS3 comes in, but I'm sure not as high as Sony would hope.
In other news, we've mentioned this before, there's a service out there called Quick, that's Q-I-K. It allows people to stream video live from their cell phones. Robert Scoble used it a while ago at the Davos conference in Switzerland, and it was just in beta for a very long time, and they've just come out now so that it's available to the public. Keep in mind though, it depends what type of phone you have, and it also depends on your carrier. Now the neat thing is you can go to the Quick website, and you can put in your phone number, and then they send you this great little text message to tell you if it's usable on their service or not. Yeah,
and that's great. I mean, everything's so, with cell phones, there's so many different little platforms and peculiarities about how it's handled. That's a real good service to build in, especially if you know you can't deal with them all at once.
And the cutest thing that they do, I tried doing it with my phone number, and then they have a message that says, hey, don't be lazy, go get your phone now, out from under the couch, and see if this is going to work or not. Come on, go. And they try to encourage you. Because, you know, so many people fill out these things and then don't bother checking, so that was lots of fun.
Yeah, very cool. We talked a little bit last week about how Apple had some troubles in launching all its different services on the iPhone launch day. One of those that had a lot of trouble was Mobile Me, the replacement for .Mac. Apple has since issued an apology to Mobile Me users, and in fact, current subscribers have their subscription extended by an additional month for free by Apple because of this. So I think that's a pretty good, reasonable response.
That is a reasonable response. It's always good when we hear that consumers are fighting back and then they're getting something in return.
Yeah.
Always a positive. Now, this is kind of a sad story. We were talking last week, even laughing a little bit about the lightning striking that person who was shooting some video and put it on Flickr. Well, it turns out, I just read this online, it turns out that in Russia, 12 people have been either injured or killed using gadgets while they were struck by lightning. And so they're actually blaming the electronics for these deaths or these injuries. And I was pretty shocked when I read this, because there's a lot of scientists who say, you know, this is not possible, the lightning can't, you know, can't have any effect and can't be reaching the signal or the electronic gadget you're using. But in Russia, they're saying this is definitely the cause. Yeah, very strange. I don't know. I think the jury will be out on that one. In terms of evaluating another maybe hard to evaluate thing, the Scientific American has just put out an article on Batman. The new Batman movie came out. Amber and I saw it. It was fantastic. It's the godfather of superhero movies as far as I'm concerned. But the Scientific American article was really cool. It's talking about how real Batman is, and says that they've done a pretty good job in a lot of different ways of keeping him true to somebody who could exist in the real world with just a little bit of suspension of disbelief. One can only hope, Jeffrey. Are there any things that aren't too real about Batman? One of the things they said that they'd point out, amongst a lot of other things which are pretty reasonable, is that one person can't fight off 10 people.
it just can't happen. So you might have a few people you can fight off, and in fact the person they interviewed for this is a kinesiologist, neuroscientist, and also a karate master. So he has some things to say. And another interesting point was to train to be Batman. He estimated it would take 10 to 12 years of constant training to get into Batman's state, and that it's humanly possible, but you could really only maintain it for a couple of years, that strength and endurance and dexterity and all that sort of stuff.
Well, all I know is that I love Batman. In fact, I named my old iMac Batman because I love Batman so much, but aside from loving the movie, I have to say that Batman is a total wuss against those dogs.
Yeah, Batman was, he's got some supervillains coming at him and he's crying about the dogs.
The dogs,
I don't think so. I'd be a little more scared of that Heath Ledger Joker, who is a wonderful characterization there.
But
really good.
Really frightening. All right, now Jeff is going to give us a review of the iPhone.
So I promised you last week that I'd give you a review of the new iPhone, and here it is, the iPhone 3G. Great device, I gotta say. Really happy to have it finally in Canada and for you people in other places in the world. The things that have been added to the iPhone with this new release, obviously you can get the iPhone 2 software update for the old iPhone, but the 3G is able to go on the 3G network, making it faster than the Edge network and the other connections that you had available before. It also now has real GPS, so when you go to your maps or any location-aware applications, you can get a much more precise location than you used to be able to get through the triangulation method they were using before. Of course, as we talked about, it's got the App Store in it. You can download apps right from the device, which is very cool, and there's some neat apps there for both the iPhone and the iPod Touch. One neat new thing that you can do is that if you touch the home button and the sleep button at the same time, press them, you can get a real quick little screenshot. And if you go into your photos and you check with your recent photos, you will see that you do indeed have the screenshot you just took in there. So that's pretty cool. Couple downsides. One thing I am not very impressed with is the battery life. If I have this thing on all day, have to take even a couple calls and surf the internet a bit, there's no way I'm getting into the next day without charging it. It's going to run out of batteries. So it'd be great if the battery life were a bit better. I was out buying cases or looking for cases for it, and it now has a bit different a profile. It actually has a bump in the back. It's thinner on the sides. It sits nicely in your hands, but that means that some of the old iPhone cases won't work for it. So either bring your iPhone along or look specifically for a new iPhone 3G case if you're searching for a case. And on that note, one thing I was worried about is this screen getting marked up. Obviously, we've all had iPods that have gotten scratched and the screen over time really wears down. Well, this thing has a glass screen, unlike the other iPods, except the iPod Touch. And I looked online and saw people put this through some horrific looking tests with knives and keys and dropping it. And the screen here doesn't mark up at all. I saw the screen break in a couple of tests, but no marks on it. Now the rest of the body is obviously not made of glass. It can be scratched. So I'm going to look for a case that fits the rest of the body and not worry too much about the screen, because I certainly don't want to impair any of the touch ability if that may or may not happen. I'm not sure how different cases will affect that. But as I said, a wonderful device. So great to have it all around the world. Now I have one thing in my pocket. Instead of a camera, a phone, and my iPod, I can just carry this one device. The iPhone 3G, total thumbs up. Well, it's time for our web picks. What's your web pick this weekend?
My web pick was sent to us by a viewer, Philip Roy. He sent me a link to a site called nicecritic.com. Now, this is a place where you can go and you can be very nice about criticisms to people, but you can do this anonymously. So you can actually send them an email. You can base it on certain categories. For example, if you work with someone who has bad breath and you want to send them an email, but you don't want them to know it's you. This is a bit of a hint for my brother. The past few weeks have been tough. This is a totally free service, and it kind of, you know, it's similar to the emails that self-destruct that we talked about last week, but this is totally anonymous. I don't know what I think of it really in the long run, but I think you know, it's interesting if people feel the need to go out there and send these emails.
Sometimes people are just too polite to put a criticism out there that really needs to be told. Like you said, there's lots of examples of it, but I think it could be a useful service as long as people use it constructively. You know, you don't want it just to be the next, like, you know, the children a dig like flame war kind of.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's always better to talk to someone and not be passive aggressive like I just was to Jeff.
Yes, it's true.
What's your web pick?
My web pick is easy-calculators.com, and it's a really simple site, but this guy's gathered together all these free calculators, and it's got, in addition to the scientific math kind of calculators, it's got calculators for finding the distance and flight times between different airports, for instance.
Ooh, that's a good one.
How many calories are in things. How long ago was a certain date? Like how many days, weeks, years, months. You can do the same thing with your own age. Anyway, tons of them. So you can take a peek. A very texty website. Doesn't look very flashy, but it does what it says it's going to do. That's easy-calculators.com. Pretty cool.
Now this is, you know, you're trying to make fun of me because of my math abilities. So this is your anonymous way of telling me, isn't it?
That's right.
Not
the
so
passive aggressive one. I'm going to have to actually use that thing. I've got a whole list of things I want Emma to know.
Jeff and I will be exchanging emails for weeks and weeks on
Totally anonymously.
It's going to be a little awkward. Now remember, if you have any comments, you can leave them at commandN141-MPEG. And also, thanks for your patience because we're just switching over, managing the feeds and everything.
And I think we're getting stuff in order. It's coming along pretty quick. We're certainly missing having Brian around doing all this stuff for us, but we're getting over to our widescreen graphics and all that sort of stuff. So thanks for bearing with us. If you want to tell us anything we could be doing better or make any recommendations, web picks like my lazy sister sometimes gets from viewers instead of researching herself, you can email us at info@commandN141.MPEG.
Thanks for watching and have a great week.
Enjoy.
commandN